We're never really experiencing objects. We're experiencing consciousness, and we're experiencing the perception of objects, but not the objects themselves. So all these things are appearing to us and within us.
Yes. Take an object that we see, something that is seen. The tree over there, that we think has an existence, a reality that is independent of that which sees it, whatever it is that is seeing it. The deep conviction that that tree is there when it is not seen. Let's just limit at the moment the conversation to the realm of seeing. So take the experience of the tree, of the seen, the object that is seen. What is our experience of that object if we were to remove seeing from that experience? What would remain of the seen? What remains objectively once we remove seeing? Because what we're trying to find out is, in the experience of the tree, what...
The only thing remaining is consciousness. The only thing is my awareness at that point.
Yes, but what I'm trying to find out, what remains of the apparent object when we remove our seeing or experiencing of that object? Nothing. There's nothing objective that remains. And so, the next question we can ask ourselves is, from where do we derive the certainty that that object exists independently of the seeing of it? If there was something in our experience in the object that was independent of the experiencing, or in this case, the seeing of it, that thing, that part of the experience that was independent of our seeing of it, would remain over after the seeing was withdrawn. Now, what is our experience of that thing that is left over after our experiencing of it is withdrawn?
There is nothing.
Nothing, by definition, nothing. Yeah. So again, we see that our conviction that there is an object independent of our perception is just a belief.
Right.
Again, there's nothing wrong with the idea. It's a useful idea. But once we think that that idea, once it becomes a belief that it is a fact of experience, it becomes problematic.
Because it supports the whole concept of separation.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
So then, in a way, by doing this, we've reduced, in our understanding, the seen to the seeing of it. What we're saying is that
the process of seeing is the only thing which is unique to what's going on here. It's the only thing that's going on.
Yes.
Not seer and seen, it's just seeing.
That seeing has gone into the make
right.
of the seen. Now, if we ask ourselves, okay, what about this seeing? What is that made of? And what is our relation to ourself, to consciousness, this knowing presence, to seeing? And we ask ourselves the same question. What if we were to remove consciousness from the experience of seeing? Is there something that would be left over?
No.
No. So we've reduced in our understanding the seen, the apparent object that is seen, to the experiencing or the seeing of it.
Right.
In other words, we've reduced the physical object to a mental perception. And then now we further reduce that in our understanding. We see, okay, what is this perception? Yes, we understand there's no tree, that all there is the image of the tree, the perception of the tree. Oh, okay, that's a halfway house. But then what is this perception? So immediately there's nothing outside. We're saying really that it's an image in the mind. It's not an object in space,
right.
It's an image in the mind.
Right.
But now what is the substance of that image in the mind? What is the substance? Yes, it's a perception, it's not an object. But what is the substance of the perception? What is its relation to consciousness? And we find that it's identical. It is not just that the consciousness is aware of the tree outside. If we explore the experience of the scene very, very closely, we see that it is nothing other than the shape that this knowing presence takes. This knowing presence, so to speak, projects itself through the mind to appear as a world. But this projection takes place within consciousness.
Right.
It appears to project an object that is separate from itself, outside of itself, to create a separate world. But actually this projection, like a dream, takes place within consciousness. And if we look to find out what it's made of, and again, this is not philosophy, it's not experience. If we go deeply into the actual felt, lived experience, we see that the substance of every experience is identical with, is made out of the same substance that knows the experience. In other words, the knowing of an object and the existence of an object are one thing. Consciousness and being are the same experience. It's not that there is knowing and there is existence that is known. They are one experience. Consciousness knows a thing by being that thing. That is the way consciousness experiences it. It is everything that it experiences. It witnesses itself and expresses itself simultaneously as the totality of experience. When consciousness experiences something, it is taking the shape of that so-called thing. That consciousness and being are the same thing. That consciousness knows a thing by being that thing. It enjoys. What I'm trying to describe is something that's not at all abstract. It's very familiar. The understanding, the feeling understanding that which knows a thing is the substance of that thing, is an experience that is very, very well known to us. It's called happiness. It's called peace. That's what the experience of happiness is. The realization, and we don't need to formulate it in these terms, that's completely unnecessary. We're formulating it here.
You've just sort of walked through the unfolding of an Indian term of Satchit Ananda.
Yes.
Just sort of walk through the whole movement.
Yes. What happens when consciousness, being, divides, or appear to divide, that when the subject and object appears to be born out of the oneness of consciousness and being, is that happiness is lost, happiness is veiled, and the search begins for happiness, for peace, for love. In fact, for instance, the almost universal desire for intimacy in personal relationships is born, in most cases, of the separation between knowing and being. Consciousness keeps knowing for itself. I am the knower. But it gives being, existence, to the other, to the known. It divides itself, and it doesn't like it. It longs for itself. It longs for the knowingness of its own being. And hence this search, which is the desire for intimacy in relationships, is one aspect of this search, but it's a very powerful and very common, almost universal expression of this search of consciousness for itself, for its home. And because the experience of love, which is the culmination of this experience of intimate relationship, is precisely the knowingness and beingness, consciousness knowing itself as the being, the presence of everything.